Welcome into the Sports Buffoons podcast. Welcome on in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. How's it going out there? Follow us on YouTube land out there. Give us a follow at Sports Buffoons. We got the full group over here once again. Jason JG and Tanner D. What's going on?
What's going on, everybody?
What is up, yo?
Oh, my goodness. So how was your guys' 4th of July?
It was great. I shot off 96 shells. So
96 shells.
Took me 2.5, 3 hours almost.
Was that illegal?
Yeah, it was legal. We were down in Wichita, actually in
Oh.
Andover, so had some land down there.
Very nice. Jason, what'd you do?
You know, I set off some fireworks for my daughter. It was a lot of fun, and I was just happy that at the end of it, I didn't blow off my dick like Jason Pierre-Paul did that one year.
Yes, that was a good point. I think about that every year, actually, because I like to do the dumb thing where you pull apart firecrackers and then throw them before they blow up. So one of these days, it's a matter of time. So my girlfriend would be very upset if I lost my fingers, if you know what I'm saying. But you guys, we're sipping on a little something here tonight. We got Sailor Jerry over here. Tanner, what do you got?
I got some Knob Creek, some nice whiskey there. So
Yeah, I have Sailor Jerry as well. I'm not a big fan of the Knob Creek, though. That's the worst bourbon I've ever had in my life.
Personally, Tanner, Knob Creek's not very good.
you know,
Just from my
it's
experience.
not awful. We've had really bad whiskeys before.
Sure.
I think his argument is that it's an acquired taste. That's what you always say when something tastes like shit.
It's
You try to
acquired.
explain to them how it's an acquired
It
taste.
really isn't that bad. What was that
Maybe.
one that we had a couple weeks back that you had? Bird Dog?
No, Bull and Bear.
Bull and Bear. That's
Bull
what
and
it
Bear was pretty awful. It's brand new. If you guys out there listening are into bourbons, do not buy Bull and Bear. I will say they are not worth the cheap price. Even they were like $15 for a bottle. So, but the good news is, you guys, we have a lot of good things going on in the sports world, which is why we're here. We're here to be buffoons, but also talk about the great NBA Finals. We're going to talk about NFL preview leading up week by week, starting tonight, as a matter of fact. It's going to be division by division every single week. We're kicking it off tonight with the NFC East here in just a little bit. And then we're going to have a little discussion, Tanner. You want to discuss the NCAA endorsements.
Correct.
And how that's going to affect the landscape of sports world going forward in the future.
Yep, that's correct.
But I think we have a bone to pick with each other first. So, as you guys know, Phoenix Suns went out here recently and dominated the Milwaukee Bucks 118-105. I thought the game itself was phenomenal. I loved every minute of it. It was not necessarily an easy win for the Suns, but they pulled away at the end and they made it a simple game to where you had really the big three on that team between Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton all just kind of took over the game. But Jason, our NBA expert, we have some questionable calls by our expert now. So I'm curious to see what you have to say about the state of the NBA Finals right now.
I think it was a great game one. I mean, it was 118-105. So by no means would I call this a blowout. But the Suns, they're for real. They are the favorite in this series. They have home court advantage. But the first number that jumped out at me was obviously Chris Paul, 32, 4 and 9. DeAndre Ayton had 19 rebounds.
Yes.
That just
a career
blows me away.
That's pretty close to it.
And then obviously Devin Booker did his thing with 27, 2 and 6. You had a couple of contributors on the bench, but those were the big three as far as this game one. And moving forward and looking at the rest of the series, I think it's going to be a long series. You got people out there saying, oh, it's going to be a sweep or it's going to be a 5-game series. I think it's going to be a little bit longer than you guys think. But the first thing that I look at here is the coaching situation. So I feel like these are two great coaches. I actually think that they're probably two top 10 coaches in the league. But Budenholzer has got some adjustments to make in this series. And so that's what separates the great coaches from the good coaches is how do you make adjustments from game to game? And so I think this is a great chance for Coach Budenholzer to prove himself. There's been a lot of talk out there that if he actually loses the finals, that they could fire him after getting his team to the finals.
Which is crazy because he's been in the consistent range of progressing each year. And now you're going to, the potential fire still by making the finals.
Yeah, and so we don't know what's going to happen with this team this year. I mean, obviously the Suns are the favorite, but from a coaching standpoint, if I'm a Bucks fan, I don't ever want to see Bobby Portis or Brook Lopez guarding CP3 for the rest of my life.
Preach it again. I don't want to
see that shit ever again.
Preach it again, Jason.
Okay? That's a disaster. And, and there at some point, I think they probably switched on to Devin Booker as well in this series. And so from a coaching standpoint, if I'm in Coach Bud's shoes, you take your best 3 perimeter defenders, which are Drew Holiday, PJ Tucker, and Chris Middleton. Those 3 guys are going to guard that backcourt no matter what. They're going to fight through all the screens. I don't want to see anybody switching on any screens for the rest of this series on the Bucks side. And CP3, he's been in the league 16 years. He's probably one of the best floor generals that we've ever seen. He was hunting Brook Lopez the entire game. And so, and every time I looked up, Brook Lopez was guarding CP3, and I just got pissed off. And so CP3 is basically a master at the pick and roll. But the only way to beat that is just take your best perimeter defenders, fight through the screens. And then when I look at the other side, the Milwaukee Bucks need to do that same thing to CP3. They need to make him work on the defensive side of the ball and just kind of try to wear him out a little bit. This is the only thing that's going to give the Bucks a chance in this series. And I think Drew Holiday needs to be more aggressive like he was in the Hawks series. Now, I understand the Hawks are a completely different animal than the Phoenix Suns, but Drew Holiday needs to be more aggressive. A lot of people are out there asking, now, what does the Dario Saric injury mean here? So Dario Saric, backup power forward / center for the Suns, tore an ACL. And the way that I think this affects the series is I think the Milwaukee Bucks need to throw their big lineup out there every single game. They need to bang down low on offense, try to slow the game down, because Saric is the only backup center that they have on the Suns that can play any kind of defense. The only other guy that they can throw out there to back up DeAndre Ayton is Frank Kaminsky. Like, the guy fucking sucks. And so I think if the Bucks can just play big for the rest of the series, they should be able to get DeAndre Ayton into some foul trouble. Now, the other thing that I look at in this series is the officiating. I thought it was dog shit in game 1. I think that, they were just getting the home court advantage, and the officials weren't doing the Bucks any favors. I think Phoenix was doing whatever they wanted defensively, whereas the Bucks were getting called for every single ticky-tack foul out there. I think PJ Tucker actually farted on a guy once, and they called a foul on his ass.
We're blaming the refs.
So I'm not blaming the refs. I'm just saying, it needs to even out throughout the series. And so I understand the NBA, they want to make max dollars here. They want to see a long series to make the most money, but they also want to ensure that the president of the Players Association, a la CP3, gets his ring. So I do think this is going to be a 6 or a 7 game series. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
The last segment was kind of funny, Jason. Kind of talk about the refs and everybody favoring CP3. That's not the case, guys. This is going to be a 5-game back and forth series. It's not a big deal. So here's my takeaway here. The one big key about this is there's a guy that's not made to put all the pressure on his shoulders. That's Middleton, Mr. Chris Middleton, right? He is not made for this kind of pressure coming in. Giannis is not 100%, as we saw last night. The guy was not forcefully going in the paint. He was not doing the same moves. He occasionally did it, but it wasn't the same. And obviously, you saw DeAndre Ayton take advantage of that the backcourt there by Giannis's injury, Brook Lopez on the outside with Chris Paul, and so that doesn't leave you much room for DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton, who can, when he's ready to, performs really well. So that's the biggest key right there for the Suns. And I said it last week. DeAndre Ayton has to show up in these games. And if they can't contain DeAndre Ayton, Chris Paul and Booker, doesn't matter what they do there, DeAndre Ayton's going to be on the inside taking care of the rebounds and the dirty shots inside with everybody else. So the key for the Bucks to even pull this 7-game series out is Chris Middleton needs to perform way better. He can't just be 12 for 26. He did score 29 points, but you got to be more efficient. But he needs Giannis right there or somebody else to step up in that range, like Drew Holiday, right? And for the Suns as well, I still think Cam Johnson coming off the bench is going to be the biggest guy that they're going to have to be able to help DeAndre Ayton get any rest. DeAndre played 39 minutes this last game, which is not a normal game. Usually it's about 35, 32. So for DeAndre Ayton to have the 39, look, you got 3, possibly 4 more games to go. Put in those 40-minute days. That's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to get over the tiredness because it's time to play. So those are my takeaways for key players and what to look for. I still think if Giannis is 100% healthy, this might be a 7-game series. So
yeah, I just want to point out one thing before you go, Mike, and that's the fact that, Tanner, you brought up Chris Middleton. I mean, he's a star player. By no means is he a superstar, but the problem I have with Chris Middleton is that he's a streaky shooter. Mm-hmm. He's a good defender, but he's not a guy that you can count on every night. And to your Giannis point, I was hoping that they would just hold him out for at least game 1 because I thought that they were going to lose the game anyway. And I thought you should give him an extra day of rest because, to my point, they've got to play big. And the only way you can play big is to throw Giannis and Brook Lopez down on the blocks and just go to work.
That's what you got to do.
You're not going to win shooting threes with Giannis because he can't shoot.
I mean, he made one yesterday.
He made 1 3.
He made 1 3.
1 3.
That's all he needed, right? I think he was 1 for 1.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Mike, what do you got, man?
Yeah, I mean, the whole Middleton thing is very true because I said this last week. That team goes how Middleton goes. And regardless of Giannis, whether he's on the court or not, when Middleton plays well, the Bucks play well. When he doesn't play well, they lose the game. And now here's the other thing that has to go with that. Jason and I talked a little bit here about 12 for 26, and, I don't think that's nearly efficient enough. I mean, you're shooting 26 times because you're trying to take over the game. And that's not what you're doing. That's not what you're supposed to be doing there. It's not your skill set. And I understand it's because of the injury to Giannis, which I actually thought defensively Giannis played a fine game. I mean, 17 rebounds is great. But overall, when I'm looking at this team, I know you brought up Dario, Jason, and I don't think it makes any impact at all in this entire series. I mean, let's keep in mind the injury happened, I believe, in the first quarter of this game with the Suns and Bucks, maybe second quarter. But it changed nothing about the game and the landscape of how the team performed down the stretch of the game. Torrey Craig came in, played 16 minutes, and that's kind of the replacement right now. And DeAndre Ayton did play, one of his best games of his career. His career high rebounds is actually 21 in one game. He did that a year and a half ago, back in January of 2020. So obviously he played at all-star level. Is that sustainable? Probably not. He's not going to do that every game. But you can count on guys like Booker to do 27 and Chris Paul to do 32 almost every game, at least coming up for the next few we have set up here. At the end of the day, though, my whole thing is like we had Jay Crowder play like shit.
Your favorite guy, man. That's your favorite player on the Suns.
My point to bring that up is this. We see that guy, talk about streaky shooters. We see a guy like that come in, put up 1 point, misses 6 3-pointers because he can't help himself but just try to shoot threes all day.
He was 0 for 5,
it's no
and
business.
He was 0 for 8 in the field goal range.
Right. So he's 1 point. So he even missed a free throw then at that point. So here's the thing. Crowder is going to step up, but also Aiden's going to come down. So they're going to even each other out. So it's not like they're, one's going to stay high, one's going to stay low. They will even out over time. I think you got McCall Bridges has obviously got 14 points the previous game. And I obviously love Cameron Payne. I think Cameron Payne is actually a very underrated player in this league. But my whole thing right now is the coaching. I think Monty Williams completely outcoached Bud, and it's not even close. Like this game was all about team chemistry. Suns looked like they knew what they were doing, looked like they've been playing together all year because they have. And thing is, with the Bucks, I felt like that was kind of a team that was confused about what to do. Do we give Giannis the ball? Do we put it in Chris Middleton's hand? I mean, what do we do here? Drew Holiday, is he going to get involved? And they couldn't figure out how they want to get in a rhythm together because it's almost like they were feeling themselves out of how the teams can perform with Giannis coming off that injury. And so I think maybe as time progresses, like I assume maybe game 3 can be a game where the Bucks get more in a rhythm. But I'm going to go ahead and put my statement out there right now. I think the Suns win this series in 7 games. So I'm giving the Bucks a lot of credit here of coming back into this and making it close.
That is actually a lot of credit.
Tanner, what are your thoughts? What do you think? Who's going to win this series?
By the way, Crowder did have 9 boards, so he did do his job after was it Sarchik? How do you say his name?
Dario Saric.
Saric. After Saric went down, so Crowder did come in and do his job in the deep down low.
Right.
But yes,
I'm not concerned about Dario being out. That's not a concern. He's not very good anyway, personally.
So
he sucks.
So my prediction in this series, because Giannis isn't healthy, and they should have sat, like Jason said, out game 1. I probably would have changed my my attitude towards this series. I think it's Suns in 5.
Suns in 5.
Suns in 5.
So we got 5, Suns in 7 over here. So I think final thoughts here for me is just my biggest problem with the Bucks right now is that when they were playing Atlanta and Giannis was not in the lineup, they were much more cohesive. They played really well together as a team. Now, granted, that was against the Hawks, but the Hawks were a good team in that series. And I just think that now that Giannis has come back, they've kind of gone back to their old ways where they just sit around and they watch Giannis. They give him the ball and say, here you go.
You think I was right about what I said, a feeling out period right now within the team?
It's a feeling out period. I mean, but they played so well as a unit without Giannis that I think they need to just keep that same mentality. Like they want to integrate Giannis, but they don't want to just say, here you go, try to take over the game and carry us to the promised land.
Yeah.
That shit's not going to happen because, like I said earlier, he can't fucking shoot. So my final thoughts are that if Coach Budenholzer would take my advice, right, JG's advice, and play big and make his guards fight through the screens, put Giannis and Brook Lopez on the blocks to try to get DeAndre Ayton into foul trouble, then the Bucks would win this series in 6 games. However, I don't believe he's going to do that. I mean, I love Coach Bud. He comes from the San Antonio Spurs, Greg Popovich coaching tree. But guess what, guys? He is not Greg Popovich, at least not at this point in his career. So he's probably not going to take my advice. So my official prediction is you're going to see more of the same from the Bucks, which is stand around, watch Giannis Antetokounmpo do his thing. That's not a winning brand of basketball because Giannis can't shoot. And so the bottom line for me is that CP3 and Book are the 2 best players on both teams right now. So you got 2 best players on one side of the ball, and then I have Giannis as the 3rd best player in the series, and he's on the other side. And so barring a CP3 injury or something like that, I'm going to go with the Phoenix Suns in 6 games. So I'm right in between you guys, but we're all picking the Suns. So you take your pick. Is it 5, 6, or 7 games? Doesn't really fucking matter. It's going to happen one way or the other.
Yeah, that's interesting you said that, Jason, because we talked a little bit off the air, obviously, and I gave you a lot of shit about not supporting the Suns in the way I felt you should have throughout the postseason, but you're finally giving in. Is that right?
Well, I feel like, I picked the Suns to win against the Clippers. That I'm on record as picking them to win that series. But my point in this series is the fact that something that you've always pointed out, Mike, is that they're an amazing road team.
Right.
And so that's the main reason why I'm picking them in 6 is because I do believe they can get it done on the road. And that's what I think is going to happen this series because it happened the last series.
I'm going to go Suns win on Thursday. And I think after that, when they go back to Milwaukee, I think Milwaukee wins there. But then the Suns also get 1. So the Suns go up 3-1 and then lose 2 in a row and then go to game 7 from there. That's my prediction. I'm giving Milwaukee a lot of credit here.
So I got a left field question for you guys on the series. Who comes away MVP
of the whole series? Chris Paul.
Finals.
Yeah,
they're going to hand it to him.
Chris Paul. Yeah,
that's a no-brainer.
They're going to hand it to him, and even if Booker and Paul are even, you go to Paul on that.
You're going to go to Paul. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I just want to make sure there's nothing left field from you.
It reminds me of when Peyton Manning won MVP of the Super Bowl when he didn't really deserve it,
but he did his job. We've talked about this before.
It's stuff like that.
He did his job. He did his job.
Peyton Manning was a serviceable quarterback in both of those Super Bowl wins.
He did his job.
Very serviceable.
Well, there was also a running back, Dominic Rhodes, who should have won MVP of that Colts Super Bowl.
And he didn't. And he did.
And he did what?
The GOAT won it. So.
All right, Peyton Manning won it. All right.
Correct.
But he wasn't the MVP of the game. Anyways, that's an off-topic thing. I just want to throw a little jab in there.
He always loves doing that.
You know, I take them when I get them. I think of these things. I just want to jab.
He always tries here.
Yeah, when Tanner said GOAT, I got really confused. I was like, what is he talking about?
I'm confused when he said there was a Peyton Manning that was called the GOAT.
Yeah, when he said the GOAT, I'm like, what is he talking about?
Man.
Like, this is some kind of weird comedy skit or something.
I
That doesn't
love
make any
this.
sense.
I love
I
this.
don't know. All right, you guys. Well, I mean, at least going into next week, we'll have more games unfold. We can then go on more and do some more judgment and expectations from there. Then again, if
It might
things
be
go-
over.
Then again, like our sign says here on YouTube, if you're following along, #Suns&4, because I'd be very happy with that. Sweep them. That is my team. And if Tanner, I said it off the air, but I'll say it on the air. If the Suns win the championship, I'm going to get a Devin Booker jersey.
I can't wait to see you in that.
Yes, I will get a Devin Booker. It'll be my first ever
NBA
jersey. I have never owned one in my entire life.
Well, I know you're not going to get a CP3 jersey because he's old as shit.
Exactly.
He's getting ready to go into a nursing home.
At least Devin Booker is like, 24, so he'll be around a while.
Get ready to go join the Lakers next season.
Oh, gosh, please don't. That's not going to be going over very well.
Oh, man.
All right, you guys. Well, let's go ahead and dive in. We have a segment 1 of 8. Let's go ahead and put it that way, you guys.
Yes.
Every single week leading up, we're going to be discussing one division in the NFL. We are pumped as hell about training camp. We are going on August 5th out there.
The NFL talk is starting.
Starting as of right this second.
Yes.
NFL talk is official now.
And it's on episode 69, everybody, because
Right.
it's super nice.
It was a super nice episode. And, last week was entirely NBA, which was a great show, by the way. Please go back and listen if you guys love the NBA. But it's good to, we're fantasy experts, too, when it comes to the NFL. I feel like, I don't know about Tanner because he scares me with some of his moves.
Look,
but Jason and I at least
moves.
have some kind of a fantasy knowledge.
It's all genius moves.
Okay, Tanner. Don't get too ahead of yourself there. But we were talking about the NFC East this week, and each week we'll have a new one, like I said. This is a division. Obviously, we're starting with one of the worst. In fact, it was the worst division in the NFL last year. And do we have someone to introduce, Tanner?
I do. Actually, guys, we're going to bring in local Cowboys fan, Caleb Jones. Caleb, let me unmute you here, and welcome to the podcast. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on your guys' show today. So,
Yeah, we'll
Great.
forgive you on that OU flag, so it's all right.
hey, OU, Cowboys, let's go.
I love it. He's got the CeeDee Lamb jersey on right now. So
I do.
that is wonderful stuff right there.
No
One of my
matches.
favorite receivers in the whole league, actually. So he's awesome stuff. But Caleb, you are perfect to have on the show right now, especially for this segment, considering we're covering the NFC East here for the next 25 minutes or so. But I do want to have a rundown a little bit of some of our thoughts on some of the offseason moves of what went on between each team. Let's do this. Because you are a Cowboys fan, let's save them for last. And I'll let you go ahead and, have your opinion on that. But obviously, help us out here. I'm going to kick it off talking about the Philadelphia Eagles and some of our thoughts on them. But, obviously the addition of Heisman winner Devontae Smith to pair with Jalen Reagor gives them an interesting and quick duo at receiver. For me, the play calling is going to have to be like the biggest deal breaker for the Eagles offense because those are both undersized receivers, and they're going to need to be creative with that play calling to be able to get those guys involved and make the offense work. I think Miles Sanders is great in the receiving game, has a lot to prove as a pure running back. But I also think Dallas Goedert is going to break out big time this year. Zach Ertz is back, so keep that in mind.
Yes.
But Goddard truly
For
is.
For now.
Right. But he
For
is
now.
truly the number one tight end in Philly. I think he's going to have a spectacular season. But I'll say this now. You can correct me if I'm wrong later, but much like the Cowboys, I think the Eagles have a weak secondary that doesn't force enough turnovers. My prediction for the Eagles is they're going to go 6-11. What are your thoughts, guys?
6-11 for the Eagles. That sounds about right for them. Keep forgetting it's a 17-game season.
Yes, add a game, Tanner.
17-game season, guys. So last year they were 4-11. They missed the playoffs, obviously. They had a horrible offensive line injury-plagued as well, and their secondary was injury-plagued. They had a lot of young guys still down in the secondary. So I think they're going to have some improvements here. But with a new coach and Doug Peterson gone, it's going to be a total different team. And then Carson Wentz is gone. It's also a key departure, along with Alshon Jeffries and defensive tackle Malik Jackson. So I think for the Eagles' key to success, Mr. Hurts, Jalen Hurts, former Oklahoma, and who also played with Devontae Smith at one time, needs to be the young guy. Young guys need to have some chemistry. They need to be hot early, figure it out during training camp, and get on the same page. And I think the two biggest keys for the Eagles as well is they need a running game to produce here, because that was kind of lacking last year, but they didn't have much of a line to push it. So they got to get that running game to open up some lanes for passing lanes for Jalen Hurts. And they also got to prove that offensive line, guys. Like, you can't have Hurts running around getting hit all the time. So I think they still have a lot of key pieces to figure out. They did get Landon Dickerson center, but that's just a small piece for that offensive line. That's so
He'll end up playing guard, won't he, with Jason Kelsey there?
Most likely, yeah. Likely he'll move to guard on that one. So, but I mean, it's still not enough pieces. So you don't have depth. So for me, that's kind of what I'm thinking around the Eagles. I don't expect. I think a 6-11 sounds fair. I'd almost go 5-12.
That's fair too. Jason, what do you think?
Yeah, I could see 5-12, but just keep in mind they're in a shitty ass division, so 6-11 is doable. They are plus 500 in the odds right now to win the division. Not that anybody's actually going to bet on that shit, but just so you guys know. I do like the fact that they drafted Devontae Smith, number 10 overall. The offensive line should be much better this year because of the guys they got coming back from injury. They still have that wonderful tight end tandem that I've always liked with Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert.
They actually added Richard Rodgers for bigger body as well. So that's kind of nice for the run game.
Yep. So, and I also like the pass rush, but I think this year it's like you said, Tanner, it's all about Jalen Hurts. If he has a good year, then Philly will be able to fill some of their holes in the draft next year. But otherwise, I mean, if he plays like shit, they're probably going to move on from him.
Do you guys know who the backup quarterbacks are right now?
I don't care. I don't think anyone cares.
Exactly whatever it is.
Joe Flacco and Nick Mullins, guys.
I would have guessed Blaine Gabbert, but that was
no. He's staying with the Bucs. Remember?
Okay.
Tanner, can you imagine that statue Joe Flacco behind the Eagles trying to run that offense? What the hell are the Eagles doing even with that guy on the team?
Guy would be injured by the third play.
That's a Super Bowl winning quarterback that you're talking about.
Right.
Watch your mouth there a little bit.
Sure.
Caleb, who you got, man? What do you got on the Eagles this year?
Okay, so as far as the Eagles, I do kind of agree that 6-11 range for game wise winning and losses. I do think Kelsey will move over to guard and Dickerson takes that center spot.
That's fair.
I mean, Kelsey, he's up there in age, so I do think he's going to take more of a keep the interior but move to a guard position. Let the rookie get the snaps since that'll be his long-term position. I'm hoping that Jalen Hurts, I mean, it is his show this year. In a way, he's on a hot seat if he can't really, produce with this team. Play calling really needs to be better, but I really do hope that him and Smith pick up where they left off at Alabama with the chemistry-wise. Now they've spent some time apart. Smith's obviously had Tua and Mac Jones, so he's had a couple different quarterbacks, but unlike Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts can take those hits and move around, I think, a little bit better than Wentz can in this point in his career. So I feel like if that O-line can't hold up, he'll be able to evade the pass rush and still make those extended plays downfield.
Yeah, I wonder what they're going to do for your pure running game, because obviously Hurts can get you some yardage on the ground scrambling, but I wonder, besides Miles Sanders, if they have something else to offer in the backfield.
They signed Kerryon Johnson this offseason as well.
Still a lot to prove and been injury
prone.
Still a lot,
yes, so and that's the issue too.
Issues.
And then Corey Clements is gone as well from there, so you don't have him. So yeah, it's still a lot there. They did sign some running backs. So I think we lost Caleb here. We'll get him back.
No, wait, can they bring Darren Sproles out of retirement? Is he still around?
I think he's 40 years old now.
Yeah, I think he's 40, but he could probably still do some
If they get desperate, they can bring him back.
Maybe so. Let's get Caleb back on there because we're going to go talk about – there he is.
I don't know what happened. I just dropped.
Okay.
It's all right, man.
Not before the Cowboys. You got to hold on there, my man.
I'm trying.
All right, next team on our list here, we're going to talk about the New York Giants. I don't have a lot to say about this team, but I know that Tanner does like his boy Daniel Jones. But they did add, keep in mind, Kenny Golladay and John Ross to the receiver group, and especially Golladay. They're trying to help Daniel Jones, have him like a true receiving corps that can actually be productive and mature with his career. I think he's a guy that has talent, but I think it's hard to do that when you've had the receiving groups that have been destroyed by injuries over the past couple of years. Sterling Shepard actually is still on the team.
Yes.
You know him very well, Caleb. But keep in mind, they're pairing now Evan Ingram with Kyle Rudolph over there with the Giants. And so they're trying to do a little bit of different things to help him out. The defense is fairly average, but I do think this team has potential to be exciting just because of the return of Saquon Barkley, who is one of the most special players in the entire league. So with him coming back off the injury, they're by any means they're not a team to fear, but I think they'll be better than last year. I have the Giants at 7-10 for the season.
Yeah, I think the Giants are actually, honestly, the most interesting team in this division that could tremendously improve from last year. They were 6-10 last year, missed the playoffs. Saquon Barkley was out for basically the whole year, essentially, and he'll be back. He should be back, if not maybe 2 weeks in. He'll be healthy again, and hopefully he can, keep away from those injury bugs. But here's the ads. Here's what I liked hearing, what I like seeing within the Giants organization. They added Kadarius Toney, wide receiver, right through the draft.
Good move.
Added running back Corey Clements to help with the depth in the running back position.
Okay.
Defensive tackle Danny Shelton. Some depth there. Got some depth in the guard now with Zach Fulton. Cornerback Adoree Jackson. Hey, Reggie Ragland showed up for a linebacker.
We'll see how that works.
I had to let you know about that.
We'll see about that.
Defensive Leonard Williams. And then Jason, Devontae Booker showed up as running back.
Gosh.
They added him.
So
That's
Tanner,
my
you're
hero.
telling me they got Leonard Williams and Danny Shelton on the same D-line?
That's correct.
That's solid. I like it.
And I think they retained a few guys off that D-line too. So, I mean, that's still a good young team, but that's a lot of depth that they needed that they did not have last year. And they did lose a guard, Kevin Zietler, and cornerback Ryan Lewis, which is nothing too major. But I like the fact that they built depth in this offseason with free agency. And they weren't big deals. They were just enough, to fit in the cap. So I think the key for them this year is now the depth. It's tremendous. It's going to be helping them a ton. But I think Daniel Jones and Kadarius Toney need to be, again, off to another hot start, right? They need to figure out their chemistry because Toney could blow up this year. Toney could be a real threat coming off.
Well, keep in mind he's a rookie too.
Correct, but he could be coming off in that slot, that 3 position as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then the defense, if they can build the chemistry right and they can get everything figured out, that defense could be a lights-out defense this year. So for me, I think the Giants hit the playoffs this year.
Really? Playoffs?
I'm going
Playoffs?
You said playoffs?
Playoffs?
Whoa.
I'm going 10-7.
I'm just trying to win a fucking
10-7.
game.
10-7 for the New York
Let's write
Giants.
this down, you guys.
Wow.
We got to write this down. All right, Jason, what do you got?
Okay, so we got 10-7, or we got 10-7 here.
I was 7
And
and
you
10.
had 7-10,
Right.
so 10-7. I'm gonna have to go with 8-9 since you guys just told me that they added my boy Devontae Booker, not to be confused with Devin
Hey, it's
Booker
a 2-year deal too.
of the Phoenix Suns. They're plus 450 in the odds to win the division. I love the addition of Kenny Golladay if he can stay healthy for once in his life. That gives Daniel Jones a big-bodied target. And I think if Saquon Barkley stays healthy, then Daniel Jones at this point, he's got to take a step forward this year because Giants have a top 10 defense, which added Adoree Jackson in free agency. Offensive line still needs some improvement, but they're going to move on from Daniel Jones if he has another lackluster year. So he's got to. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to go 8-9, and I think ultimately that they will move on from Daniel Jones. I'm just not a big believer in him.
They're trying to give him the benefit of the doubt right now and to work with him. So, Caleb, what do you think?
As far as off-season moves, I think the Giants did the most to improve their team. Like Tanner said, that they definitely do chemistry-wise. They can have a top-tier defense. As far as Kadarius Toney, I've seen reports float around of him kind of getting off a slow start in training camp. Not being there, or whatever, or not mentally being there as well. So I mean, I'm feeling like number 4, number 5 receiver coming in to training camp and really fighting for that roster spot. Give Kenny Galladay a fully healthy season. I feel like he breaks out as a number one 1,200-yard receiver, being that big 50-50 ball receiver for Daniel Jones. With the improvement of the line, Saquon coming back, Kenny Galladay, Shepard, Slayton, Ross. I mean, they have a good, solid receiving core there. So I feel like, honestly, the Giants could probably go, 9-8, and possibly sneak into a wild card spot.
All right.
Nice. All right. Interesting. You guys both have the Giants on the verge of a playoff spot. That's pretty interesting.
Correct.
But I do have a team that also I think could slide in the playoffs, sneak in there a little bit. Our next one is the Washington football team, rolling with the 14-year veteran Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback this season. They're kind of in a transition period because they don't have any real future at the position. They got Taylor Heineke is the backup quarterback to Ryan Fitzpatrick right now. No one wants to see that.
He had a hell of a playoff game.
Sure,
right?
Sure, but no one
you
wants
can't give him pass. You gotta give him some kind of pass.
No one wants to see that for the future of your franchise, Tanner. You want to be rolling with Taylor Heineke? I don't know about that, but Ryan Fitzpatrick's been around a bit, and he's proven to win games. Played for 7 different teams now, or something like that. I don't know. I lost track at some point, but the thing is, if they want to win games, he's their best option. But I will say, this team to me is pretty loaded with talent. I mean, especially defensively. Last season, they had the NFL's second best defense in the NFL, and they return really that entire group. And the defensive line led by Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, and Montez Sweat. All those guys up front are stellar at what they do. Great linebacking group. The D is poised to repeat again as a top 3 group, in my opinion. But the offense also added some playmakers. They drafted Dynamic Brown in the draft, one of my favorite guys from North Carolina, and then added Curtis Samuel as well from the Panthers. So added some more depth at receiver there. Antonio Gibson is a great running back, as a matter of fact. We saw him as a rookie put up good, solid numbers. But he's a big-bodied guy. I think he's a guy that can handle a large load and be able to get 20 carries a game if needed. So I think Washington is going to take that defense to help carry them to a 9-win season. 9-8 is my prediction.
Yep. So they were 7-9 last year, made the playoffs. They won the division. Actually came back and won the division after starting so poorly due to the one man, Alex Smith. If they didn't have Alex Smith, they wouldn't have won it, so it doesn't matter. But I think it was kind of interesting. Did you guys know Lamar Miller's still around? He's with Washington right now. I didn't know the guy was still around.
He's the most average running back of all time.
I can't believe he's still around. They did add in the tight ends. Ricky Seals-Jones is one of them that they did bring in.
You mean the old Chief Ricky Seals-Jones?
Actually, they added in Yelder as well.
Wait, so they're adding both the Chiefs,
Deion Yelder and Ricky Seals-Jones is with the Washington.
Did they watch the blocking in the Super Bowl? I mean, what are they doing?
They're just adding people, apparently.
All right.
They did get linebacker David Mayo and guard Eric Flowers from a trade, so that kind of helps boost up the line a little bit along with the linebacking core. But they did lose Thomas Davis Sr., linebacker, who's been on NFL forever. He's kind of a big senior piece, but I don't think it's going to affect him too much. And of course, Alex Smith retired, aka Ryan Fitzpatrick comes into play. So Washington football team won division last year. I don't think they're going to win it this year, guys. But they do have some key success here to be able to potentially win this division again. And it's going to be in their secondary, right? They already got a great up front in that defense, but that secondary needs to be able to help create and get those turnovers when it's given to them by their D-line or linebacking core. So if the secondary can create the turnovers, that's going to be huge help. But there needs to be another weapon also on the offensive side for Terry McLaurin. It can't be just a Terry show the entire time. We got to see if there's more coming in to play. There has to be 2 or 3 other guys that has to step in. So I'm kind of excited to see what the offense brings to us, kind of being a whole young team. But I'd say for Washington football team, my record would be 6-11.
Whoa, real low.
Wow.
Yeah. I just think QB play is going to hurt him. QB play is going to hurt him.
Ryan Fitzmagic?
Interception Fitzmagic. The beard.
Whoa, all right.
He likes to throw picks.
Okay.
All right. So as you guys know, we haven't seen a repeat divisional champion in this particular division in 17 years. And so you guys know me as the NBA expert. I'm also the gambling expert on this show. So in gambling, we say that something is due to happen. I think we're due to see a repeat divisional champion here. And so Washington football team, they're plus 275 right now. And I love those odds. And I actually do think they have a really good chance to repeat here. I'm just going to go 11-6 here. Ryan Fitzmagic, he's going to be 39 years old in November, which makes me wonder if he's trying to be the next Vinny Testaverde and play as kind of an average quarterback until his mid to late 40s. Obviously, I love Antonio Gibson and Terry McLaurin. Love the addition of Curtis Samuel. And I think this is going to be a big play offense. They're not going to be consistent, but I think with that defense on the other side, I think that a big play offense might be the only thing that you need to win this division. And I know Fitzmagic, he's going to turn the ball over way too much, but I like them to go 11-6. And obviously, we all know that my belief is that they're going to have a dominant defensive line this year. And so I love the defense, and I think they can get it done as repeat divisional champions.
All right.
Wow.
Caleb, man, what are you thinking on the Washington football team?
As far as Washington, that defense is definitely going to carry them. If they pick up where they left off last season, then they're definitely going to be another, top 15, top 10 defense. As far as Fitzpatrick, I mean, the turnovers are just going to kill that offense. You got Terry McLaurin there, and then it just kind of falls off receiving core-wise. You got a couple names, but nothing big to complement McLaurin. Gibson, he's coming into his second year, really broke out against the Cowboys when he scored, 3-4 touchdowns, But that was a really poor run defense team at the time. They were still trying to form their scheme. But I really do think that Washington will take a decent fall off and not win the division, but still, be in competition with it at 7-10 range, just because they don't have any big name receivers to complement McLaurin, and then inconsistent quarterback play. So.
Yeah, we got a wide range here of different Washington predictions between the four of us. I could tell. I'm not picking them to win the division, but I think that they're a team with a defense that, to me, finishes top 3. I think that'll carry them to where they're at least close to making the playoffs, if not getting in as a wild card. But let's move on to your favorite team, Caleb, the Dallas Cowboys. So here's the thing with the Cowboys. Obviously, we all love their offense. The defense has a lot to be desired. But I've also heard, that Zeke could be in better shape this year, which if that's the case, that is huge for that team, because I'm not going to give my opinion here, but I think Zeke's kind of a lazy person. And I think if he can break out of that a little bit and get himself in better shape more consistently, especially in the offseason, as he's been known to party a little bit, come into training camp already in shape, then I think it goes a long ways towards getting him back on track as the running back we saw from 2-3 years ago. But this is my problem with the Cowboys. I love the offense, but they also ranked 28th in points allowed in 2020. They did make some great additions throughout the draft. They focused almost entirely on the defense, as we know, adding linebackers Micah Parsons, as well as Kelvin Joseph at cornerback.
Keanu Neal.
Right, and Keanu Neal as well as safety. So they had a good list of guys that they wanted to add at least something to this team. It should be better than that 28th in the league. I still think, though, they have a lot to prove when it comes to secondary play and stopping the pass. Keep in mind, Keanu Neal, if you guys have watched the Falcons over the past few years, is much better as a run defender than he is as pass defense. So he might be in the box more because that's what he kind of did in Atlanta. But to me, there's too much youth right now and unproven secondary, but they should still be improved versus the run, in my opinion, because last year was awful. And keep in mind, you'll have your guy help me out with the name here. Defensive tackle Tristan. What's his last name?
Tristan Hill.
Thank you, Tristan Hill. Yeah, Tristan Hill is back healthy again with the team. A little bit of a dirty player in my mind from some of the things I've seen, but I'll leave that for a different topic. But the offense should be terrific. You got freaking Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, and CeeDee Lamb. They're going to tear up defenses all year. This is potential to have 3 1,000-yard receivers, partially because the tight ends are also lacking in the receiving game for the Cowboys right now. So the weapons as far as passing game goes, Dak's going to be throwing it down the field to Amari. CeeDee Lamb's going to be intermediate, and Gallup's going to be your secure guy whenever those two are covered. So I like the Cowboys a lot this year because the talent hell, I've been saying this for 20 years now. The talent tells me they're going to win the damn division. But I feel like I'm saying that every goddamn year. So
You do say it.
the thing is, they've almost always been one of the most talented teams in the NFC East. It's a matter of fucking putting it to work and making it happen. I got 10-7 for the Cowboys. That's my prediction. What do you guys got?
10-7, nice. So last season, 6-10, missed the playoffs. Dak Prescott obviously got injured, played a huge effect on the Cowboys. They also had Zach Martin out for for most of the year. Tyron Smith as well on that O-line. So the O-line was depleted anyways. Not much of a depth there anyways. But they got a deal done with Dak Prescott, boys. That's what I love seeing. Dak got his money. So Dak comes off his injury. He's going to have all those wideouts you named. I don't even have to name them again. Potential B1000 receivers. They got rid of Cam Irving, which everybody knows that's an uplifting spot for any team. Right, Mike?
What are you saying?
Cam Irving gone.
What about him?
That helps everybody.
All right, it's addition by subtraction.
Correct.
That's called.
Correct. I just had to say that. So
Kind of like Dwayne Bowe back in the day for the Chiefs. Addition by subtraction.
Yeah, I mean that was a thing too.
that's great.
Bo wasn't that bad, but
He wasn't bad.
he was also a lazy bum. Speaking of lazy bums, he was way worse than whatever Elliott's been in the past.
Yeah, that's for sure. So as we saw early in the year with Dak Dak had to make a lot of comebacks, which was, I think, the big issue and was where we saw the Dallas Cowboys defense struggle, is they couldn't stop people. Dak had to come back and make these last fourth quarter comebacks all the time before he got injured. And that was the key for the Dallas Cowboys to win games before he got injured. So hopefully this year they get something figured out. Maybe they get something new with the defense going. They got to figure out a different scheme on this one. But I think the keys for success for the Cowboys this year is health. Keep those players healthy. If their players are healthy, they're going to win games. No problem. CD Lamb's in the second year. Trayvon Diggs, DeMarcus Lawrence should be having Pro Bowl years this year. I'm stupid excited for their talent. It's just a matter of can they stay healthy? Can the offensive line stay healthy to protect Dak, who needs to stay healthy, obviously, for this team to succeed? Because they did lose Andy Dalton. He didn't do much, but, I mean, that's still some kind of depth at quarterback. Though I don't think the defense will be any better this year than last year. It might be worse. I'm going 9-8.
Wow.
9-8 for the Cowboys.
9-8. Okay. Well, right now the odds makers have them at plus 105. So they are the best odds right now to win the division. I love the draft that they had. That pick number 12, Micah Parsons, linebacker out of Penn State, they say could be the best defensive player in the entire draft. I like the free agent additions that they made on defense. Still a few holes on the defensive side of the ball. The pass rush could still use some improvement. Dallas should have an explosive offense this year. I've always been a big believer in Dak Prescott, and I'm expecting great things from him this year. But the defense would be a little bit of a problem. I am going with the exact same record that I gave the Washington football team at 11-6, but I think they will lose to Washington twice, and that's why I think Washington will win the division.
Interesting.
Wow,
All
you got Caleb?
Okay. So I'm going to start off defense-wise. I feel like they're going to be a little bit better, maybe not, top-tier defense, but around the middle, probably between 20 and 15 ranked defense. With the Randy Gregory actually coming back, getting a full off-season workout, not on suspension finally. Tristan Hill coming back. They added another defensive tackle through the draft or unsigned free agent afterwards. His name's slipping my mind right now, but he's a good run defender. And then DeMarcus Lawrence. Hopefully Leighton Vander Esch is coming back healthy. Jalen Smith is coming back into a more natural position. KZ, they're not even going to have really back in as a safety. They're keeping him in as like a linebacker type to keep in the box for that run game. Dan Quinn coming in to be a defensive coordinator is a huge plus and will help that. The secondary needs to really focus on getting the turnovers, because that's what's really killed the Cowboys, offense, is they'll turn the ball over and then defense just lets them walk downfield and can't get the turnover. So those few changes with defense, huge, lots of changes will help them. As far as the offense, you're getting Prescott back, you're getting Tyron Smith back, you're getting Lael Collins back, you're getting, I believe, Connor Williams back as well, healthy.
Yep.
I mean, you're getting an entire offensive line back healthy to protect Dak Prescott, which should be tremendous. Zeke is coming back in better shape. Tony Pollard is getting more comfortable in the system. And then, I mean, their big three receivers are going to have another full year, hopefully with a healthy Dak Prescott, to break out and get, 3 1,000-yard receivers. And I'm excited to see Blake Jarwin come back and hopefully have a full healthy season, as he went down week 1 with a torn ACL, so we didn't really get to see much of him. But as far as the Cowboys, I have them going 10-7 and probably winning the division, keeping the offensive line healthy and Dak Prescott healthy.
Yeah, we matched up on there. Basically, I think we had a lot of the same thoughts. I actually was talking to a buddy before we started the show. He was actually a Cowboys fan as well, and I told him I think they would finish somewhere around 20th as far as defensively this year.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can do that, that's a big step up. Plus, if you keep Dak healthy throughout the year with having that offensive line, because to keep it, like you said, Lael Collins is back, Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, Connor Williams is back. I do have Connor McGovern as center, but they also have I kind of slipping the name here, Tyler Bias.
I can't even tell you how to pronounce his
last
name.
I know Connor McGovern because I've watched Mizzou long enough, and OU beats them every year, and so I at least know him from watching Mizzou. But I think this is still going to be a fun team to watch every week. So week 1 going against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What is your prediction of that game as a fan of the Cowboys?
I actually have Tampa Bay walking out with a win. Looking back at it, Tom Brady has never lost to the Cowboys. He's 5-0 currently in his career against Dallas. Now, Tampa Bay is just coming off a Super Bowl win. They're bringing back all their starters. They re-signed Antonio Brown to a multi-year deal, and I don't feel like Dallas, still trying to identify who they are defensively, can stop that offense. And then, I mean, Tampa Bay has a top 10 defense that's just going to tear apart Dallas's offense. I mean, they shut down Kansas City and Mahomes. So
that's true, but keep in mind your offensive line is pretty badass. So compared to what the Chiefs had in the Super Bowl, I mean, personally, that game, we don't need to go over predictions with everybody here, but I think it's going to be a fun game to watch because I think the Cowboys have a lot to show this year. And like I said earlier, that team with that much talent, I think, especially offensively, you're going to be scoring, you hope 30 points a game. If you score 30 points a game, I think this is a 10-win team and goes to playoffs. And from there, see what happens.
I think that week 1 game is going to be a lot of where do the Cowboys sit right now, right? It's exactly kind of what we're seeing after training camp, the 3 preseason games. Where are we sitting at? And then you'll see progress from there, right? Early in the year means nothing most of the time. So if you can see where they're at least sitting at, a win or a lose doesn't mean anything.
I needed you to write down our predictions, Tanner. Goddamn, we have to go back through later and remember
we'll go
whatever
back
said.
through later.
All right.
By the way, guys, the key, I think, for any team in this division to win the division is going to be health. I think everybody can agree with that.
Yeah.
Sure, because
out of every division,
Tanner, if Prescott's injured, this is now a 6-7 win team, not a 10-win team. And same thing, look at especially Washington.
Anybody on the D line,
that's a big difference.
Yeah, anybody on the D line in Washington,
right?
Or even Terry.
If really any major injury to anybody is going to be a
division
problem.
is pretty important about the health.
Yeah, I think we can all agree though the Eagles are the worst team right now.
Absolutely.
I think that's fair.
We'll just agree on that. So, all right, I do have one quick question. Let's not dig too deep, but I was thinking about this earlier today. After seeing the hot dog competition over the weekend, Mr. Joey Chestnut had 76 hot dogs in 10 minutes. That's hot dog with the bun together, 76 goddamn hot dogs. That's nuts. I mean, Tanner would probably do that, but not in 10 minutes. So that's a big difference. So,
Dick.
You're right. He'll do it in 5.
Gee.
Oh, you've got the calls there. So, only Joey Chestnut breaks his own records. But I have a question for you guys because I'm going to say mine. Let's not go too deep here. Let's be serious for a second. Your most untouchable, unbreakable record of all time across all sports, what would that be? Mine is actually for you, Jason. Did you know Fernando Tatis Jr. hit 2 grand slams in the same inning?
Yep.
Yes, he did that.
Yep.
Wow.
And so keep that in mind about something that might not ever be broken because how are you going to hit 3 grand slams in one inning? That's just not going to happen. But my actual prediction for the most unbreakable of all time is absolutely Wilt Chamberlain, 100 points in one game. That will never happen in the NBA ever. Not the way it's structured today. No one's going to do it. You've seen Kobe get close, but, that's the way it's structured of the NBA today, not going to happen. What do you guys think the most unbreakable record of all time in sports is?
Well, he's still both of mine. So what do you got, Jason?
Well, I'm just going to point out real quick that I totally disagree with you on that 100-point game. I mean, as we
Nobody
go
touches
forward, the NBA, you have less and less defense. So 10 years from now, I mean,
But no one plays the whole
like
game anymore is my point.
10 years from now, you won't be able to look at the other player. They'll call a foul. So the less defense that you have as we move forward, it's going to be more likely that record is going to be broken. I think somebody will break that 100-point record. Eventually, you might see another Kareem Abdul-Jabbar type where they just give him the ball, or another Kobe type where he's just a fucking amazing player. You might see Devin Booker. Devin Booker has put up – he had a huge game. Devin Booker might be the one
There's that
to break
guy
that
over
record.
in France right now, 7'2", sitting here shooting threes like it's nothing.
All right, well, we're not
Yeah.
debating. Just tell me who you think or what do you think is the most
No,
unbreakable record.
I want to debate, but more importantly,
We don't have time for a debate.
something that's more relevant to me is the fact that a quarterback will never lead a team to 7 Super Bowl championships ever again. Tom Brady's the GOAT, and I don't think anyone will ever sniff that. I think you look at guys like Mahomes or whoever you want to throw out there. I mean, yeah, I could see a guy getting 4 or 5, but no quarterback's ever going to lead his team to 7 rings. That'll never happen again.
What do you got, Tanner?
You had mine. I was going to do the Walter.
Both of them?
Will Chamberlain.
And Fernando Tatis?
No, and the Joey Chestnut.
Oh, and the Chestnut. Well, that was my.
Because I thought those are the 2 best records out there.
That's why only Joey Chestnut breaks Joey Chestnut's records.
Yes.
So no one else can break that.
And nobody's going to top that one. So that's not even
Those are the
close.
Okay.
But I had the 100-point game was my first one.
All right. Caleb, what are your thoughts? What is the most unbreakable record?
I would probably go, as much as I, don't want to sound biased, probably Emmitt Smith's rushing title, yards wise, like 22,000, something like that. You just don't really have the featured backs like that anymore. It's, pass heavy catching, that's a horrible sentence, but the pass catching running backs like McCaffrey, Kamara and stuff like that to help out there. You don't really have a solid, single running back like Emmett and Sanders and stuff, and all those guys back, 90s and stuff like that. So
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Emmett. So I remember whenever Emmitt Smith broke Walter Payton's rushing record, I was pissed off because I love Walter Payton. That was what is I'm 31, but my favorite player of all time in NFL history, before a couple other guys like Patrick Mahomes, was Walter Payton. He retired before I was even born, or before I was even knowing what the hell was going on in the world. But whenever he broke that, I was kind of upset because I always thought Walter's record was special. But yeah, Emmett broke that, and I think you're right, because the closest we would have to breaking that now would be Adrian Peterson and Frank Gore if he plays till he's 42, which I don't think that's going to happen.
no.
But, I mean, the guy just keeps ticking along. But, yeah, the way that they use running backs in today's game, I mean, unless for whatever somehow crazy reason Derrick Henry plays till he's 40, I don't see it happening. So that's my thoughts on that anyways. But Emmitt Smith did have all-purpose, what you're talking about, 21,564 yards all-purpose, including both receiving and rushing. So, yeah, it'll be hard to ever top that ever again across the board. And longevity doesn't come easy. I mean,
No.
those guys like Emmett and Frank and all them just doesn't happen very often. So
With as fast as these guys are moving and as hard as they're hitting, it's longevity is going to be hard to find in this game.
all right, Tanner. Well, How are you feeling right now?
Pretty damn good, I'd say.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How are you feeling about what the NCAA just did?
I actually love the move for the NCAA. Like, I love that move. The fact that athletes now don't have to be pressured to make it to the pros. They don't have to follow the dumb rules set by between the NCAA and the NBA. Like, you have to be 1 year pro or 2 year pro, right? Depending on what sport you're in. Some of them 3. The fact that they can make money, still go to school, and still not have to rush themselves on developing their talents at any sport that they're in, I think it's a huge win for the student athlete. I think it's a huge win for the NCAA. I think it's a huge loss for the professionals because the professionals aren't getting that young talent. They're not going to get that young talent in the NFL, the NBA, MLB. It don't matter who you are. You're not getting that young talent because they aren't going to rush themselves anymore. They're getting paid probably more than they're going to get paid in the NBA and NFL at some places, right? Even a guy like Ken's Jayhawks, which is my team, Mitch Lightfoot, a 6-year senior, right, is just signed a deal with 1-800 Got Junk. 1-800 Got Junk to sit on the bench. Like, that fact that can happen is everything. Like, what do you think, Mike? Like, do you think there's going to be an effect with professional sports and NCAA sports?
Yeah, there's going to be a slight effect as far as, look, they're going to get those players.
They're going to
take an extra
year.
But
it's going to take a few years,
right.
But they're going to be more developed.
Players will be more inclined to
like, you're not going to have those LeBron James, or like the Zion Williams, right? You're not going to have
Zion? Did you just call him Zion Williamson?
Oh, gosh.
Who the hell is that?
He also calls him Giannis, so it's Tanner.
Are you drunk?
But
you know who I'm talking about. Like, you're not going to have those key players go to the NBA as quick. You're not going to, like, we had tons of guys just dropped from the combine. I had 3 Jayhawks, one of them being a transfer from Arizona State, who should all be in the late first round, second rounds of the NBA draft this year, dropped. And they're coming back to KU. KU's already stacked because they already recruited. So now you got all these players that you're going to have to redshirt, probably like 4 of them that are stars. So, like, I think it's going to be a huge impact for the professional sport. And the G League, nonetheless, right? G League's supposed to be another option. That option might diminish more and more because now they're like, oh, well, I can go here and actually make more money because I'm a star in NCAA. May not be a star in NBA. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, do you see any potential threat to the NBA, a G League, or anything like that?
I just love it for the athlete. And obviously, I always come from an NBA perspective, but I think it's great for player development. And I want to throw out a few examples of what I've seen in previous years. And one guy that I think could have been a superstar had he not gone straight from high school to the pros is Jermaine O'Neal.
Yeah.
So he wasted the first 5 years of his career because he wasn't developed at all. He sucked. And he ended up being a 6-time All-Star. But in my opinion, if he would have played some college ball or maybe even all 4 years, he could have been a superstar player. Because I think that's how important player development is to me. Another guy, for example, is the local guy, Willie Cauley-Stein.
Yep.
So he's going to be 28 years old next month. His entire career was ruined. Now, he did play.
Already?
Yeah.
That's
now, he
insane.
played 3 years in college, but that's an example of a guy that could have used that extra year, played all 4 years, get a little bit more development in there. Obviously, you're always going to have guys like Devin Booker who just play their freshman year and then they're done. But those are few and far between. But I could even make a case that a guy like Tim Duncan that played all 4 years in college, if he would have been a one and done, I can make a case that he wouldn't have been the greatest power forward of all time. And maybe he wouldn't have won 5 championships. It might have diminished his career to a certain extent. So that's my thought. And I think it's great for the athlete.
Yeah, that's fair. Caleb, you got any input on this, the whole NCAA money debacle deal?
I actually love it for the college athletes and stuff like that because these colleges are making tons of money off of their likeness and image and their play on the field. Now it's time for the athlete to make money for themselves. I mean, as a college athlete, not a lot of these guys are, full ride scholarships or anything like that. So they still got to find a way to pay for this education on top of playing for the sport. So this money gives them some sort of incentive to keep playing and, putting their bodies at risk for these colleges and for themselves to make this money for them, help pay for the school, and just get them by a little bit easier. So maybe, I do think it is going to hurt the pros a little bit just because there are some people that are going to be making millions on their name and then maybe only 500,000 in the pros. So they're going to take the millions versus the lower amount. So I do feel like there is going to be a small drop in pros at first, but I don't think it's going to be like anything real noticeable.
Yeah, I like it quite a bit. Obviously, everything that's going on with this, using your, the name, image, likeness of the players, and I agree with everything you just said there, Caleb. As far as players finally getting to use, their abilities to make money off themselves, and not just the college making money off them, and that's what we've seen now for a long time. So it's a matter of time coming, and I'm glad it has. I know for me, I'm just excited because this probably means NCAA football, 2K or whatever on PlayStation is going to be back. So.
Does this mean we'll get more accurate drafts than Madden?
No.
All right. Well, that was helpful. Okay.
It's doubtful. But, still, I'm just hoping the video game comes back because.
Well, I heard it's supposed to. I heard rumored 22.
There was a big lawsuit, obviously, 6 years ago and all that.
Players won. But I heard it's coming back next year. So
yeah, that'll be awesome.
Rumored to come out on next gen for, PlayStation, what?
5?
I lose track of what they're on. So
probably 7 by the time it comes out.
Yeah,
like
it's supposed to be next gen PlayStations and Xboxes and the newer consoles.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Looking forward to that, and I think it's a good thing all around, and it was due. So.
Yeah.
Well, with that said, guys, thank you for joining. What do you got, Tanner?
Caleb, actually, real quick, if you could quickly talk about, you actually got to play football this year during the summer. Talk about what's going on here in Kansas City and how did you get just kind of a quick breakdown of what you're playing in.
Okay, so it's in a way like a semi-pro league without being semi-pro. We're like a step below. We don't travel, but there's certain leagues in Kansas City and all across the nation that are semi-pro without being paid. They'll travel. Right now I'm debating on moving up to a semi-pro level, traveling to Minnesota, Nebraska, places like that. But the league that currently I'm in now, I've been in it for 2 years now. We're a local based league in Kansas City. We have 4 teams, play each other 2-3 times a year. It's definitely a fun time to go out and do, especially for those that like me who crave the adrenaline that you get from playing football, but didn't go to college or pros or anything past that. This is our way of still playing the game that we love while getting out there, staying active, and building bonds and friendships and stuff like that.
What's the league called?
So we had our last game of the season, our championship. We had a I guess a breakdown with it all, and not the way that I wanted to see everything end. So we're in a rebrand right now of the league. We were currently the MRFL, Midwest Regional Football League, but we're breaking off from that just because of our situation that we had in our championship game between our team and another team and the crowd. But currently it's going to be the team that I play for now and then 2 of the other teams. We're forming a new league. I don't know too much more about it. We're still working out the details. And then we'll definitely be recruiting hard this offseason to potentially get a 4th team and add more players to each of those teams.
Very cool, man. Very cool. It sounds, I see your updates all the time, so it sounds really fun too. So, but hey, guys, you can follow Caleb at Caleb Jones on Facebook, right? Are you on anything else?
Also on Instagram as well. It'll be the last name Jones, letter Y, _85, and then another underscore.
Cool. Yeah, the guy, he talks sports, guys. He does. He mentions not just the Cowboys or the Sooners. he mentions winning teams like the Chiefs. So we're all right,
Occasionally.
guys.
I sprinkle it in.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show today. It's been awesome, especially having you this week
Yeah.
talking the NFC East with us and getting some insight from a fan. So,
Well, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for hopping
Thank
on.
you, Caleb, for joining us.
well, you guys, any final words before we get off here?
I'm good.
Get drunk.
Get drunk,
Get drunk.
and I'll see y'all on the next one.
See ya.
See you guys.